Today, we have very interesting stories. The first story is about photos and petty revenge. The storyteller shared a past experience with their ex-partner, who was very particular about the photos taken. Their ex required approval for every shot, and even demanded the deletion of any photos she disliked, regardless of whether the storyteller liked them or not. During a trip to a beautiful location, the ex was dressed up and excited for photos. However, the storyteller chose not to take a single picture during the entire trip, secretly enjoying the absence of any photos, especially since their ex had invested time and effort in her appearance. Next story is about sisterly hierarchy and a live-in unpaid maid. The storyteller's family had a strong hierarchical structure, with their eldest sister taking on the role of the family's de facto leader, as their parents were drug addicts. However, when the eldest sister moved away, their entitled mother remained behind with the youngest sister, referred to as Little Sister. Little Sister repeatedly begged to move in with her eldest sister, but the entitled mother always refused, claiming that she needed to take care of their father and maintain privacy. However, this changed when the entitled mother became pregnant. In their quest for revenge on entitled mother, the storyteller knew that they needed a strong ally who could help them discreetly. This ally turned out to be Ashley, a former co-worker of entitled mother who had harbored her own grievances against her for quite some time. To establish a connection with Ashley, the storyteller embarked on a meticulous plan. They knew that building a friendship with Ashley was essential for gaining her trust and ensuring the success of their revenge plot. This required them to go undercover and infiltrate Ashley's life. The first step was to identify Ashley's interests and hobbies, which would provide the storyteller with opportunities to connect with her. They discovered that Ashley was an avid yoga enthusiast, attending classes at a local studio. Armed with this information, the storyteller decided to enroll in the same yoga studio. For several months, the storyteller diligently attended yoga classes on Tuesdays and Fridays at 8 a.m., patiently waiting for the right moment to approach Ashley. During this time, he perfected his yoga poses and meditation techniques, gradually becoming a familiar face in the studio. His dedication to this ruse allowed him to blend in seamlessly with the other yoga enthusiasts, including Ashley. As the weeks went by, the storyteller bided his time, waiting for Ashley to warm up to them naturally. They engaged in friendly conversations before and after yoga classes, discussing yoga poses, mindfulness, and general wellness topics. The storyteller strategically avoided discussing any personal matters or revealing his true intentions, all while steadily gaining Ashley's trust. Around the 3-month mark, Ashley and the storyteller's budding friendship reached a significant milestone. Ashley decided to follow the storyteller on Instagram, a gesture that signified a deeper level of connection. The storyteller, well prepared for this development, had meticulously pruned their Instagram profile, ensuring there were no traces of entitled mother or any suspicious connections. Once Ashley had a window into the storyteller's online life, the storyteller continued to strengthen their friendship, carefully choosing topics and shared experiences to cement their bond. They shared insights about their yoga progress, daily routines, and shared passions, without ever hinting at the true reason they had infiltrated Ashley's life. After 9 months of careful planning and relationship building, the storyteller felt that the time was ripe to reveal his true intentions to Ashley. They understood that this moment was pivotal in enlisting Ashley's help without compromising his own position or risking any consequences for little sister. With Ashley's trust and sympathy secured, the storyteller chose a moment to share his darkest secret. They meticulously presented the evidence of entitled mother's exploitation of little sister, showcasing screenshots that left no room for doubt. Ashley's eyes lit up with indignation and determination as she grasped the gravity of the situation. Ashley, being a former co-worker of entitled mother, fully comprehended the depths of her manipulation and cruelty. She shared her own grievances about entitled mother, which further fueled her desire for revenge. The storyteller's plan was beginning to take shape, with Ashley as their invaluable ally. However, the storyteller understood the need for extreme caution. They made it explicitly clear to Ashley that entitled mother could never discover their involvement in the revenge plot. Little sister's future and well-being depended on it. The storyteller entrusted Ashley with the plan, knowing that she would seek retribution without endangering their position or exposing their involvement. With Ashley's determination and knowledge of entitled mother's workplace, the storyteller was confident that his revenge would be executed with precision. He had successfully infiltrated the life of his ally, gaining a powerful ally who shared his desire for justice, while ensuring that his own actions remained hidden in the shadows. Revenge was now within reach, and entitled mother had no idea of the storm that was brewing around her. Another story is of a woman. Once upon a time, there was a young woman named Op who decided to go on a date with someone she met on a special app called Tinder. They had fun talking and decided to meet up. Op was excited and prepared herself by taking a nice shower and getting ready to see her date. She even messaged her date to let him know that she was on her way to meet him. Op was very punctual, and she arrived at the place where they were supposed to meet, a place called an apartment complex. But when she got there, something disappointing happened. Her date, the person she was going to meet, didn't respond to her messages or even open them. Op waited patiently for a while, walking around to pass the time and not look strange while waiting. She wanted to make sure her date knew she was there, but still, her date didn't respond. Op decided that she wouldn't let this ruin her evening. She went back to her own apartment and decided to have a nice evening by herself. She watched some TV shows, and because it was allowed where she lived, she even smoked a little bit of weed, which is a kind of plant, to relax. After a little while, Op checked her messages again, but her date still hadn't opened or replied to her messages. Op felt upset because this wasn't the first time something like this had happened to her. It made her feel like people didn't respect her time and feelings. Op decided to send one more message to her date. She asked if he had really invited her over and then fallen asleep, or if he was spending time with someone else. She wanted him to know that she deserved better treatment and that her time was valuable. Op didn't use mean words or insults. Instead, she stood up for herself and set boundaries, which means she told her date that she wouldn't accept being treated this way. Op had been let down by people in the past, and she didn't want it to keep happening. Op's kind and understanding roommate, who was also her best friend, wasn't happy about what had happened. She knew that Op deserved better treatment, and that it wasn't nice to make someone feel bad by standing them up. Together, they came up with an idea to teach the date a lesson, but it was all in good fun. Op's roommate wanted to make sure that her friend Op felt valued and respected, just like any good friend would. And so, they hatched a plan to get back at the date, but it was more like a friendly dare between friends. Op learned an important lesson that night, to stand up for herself and her worth. She realized that she deserved respect and kindness from others. And with the support of her caring roommate, they set out to make things right in a fun and lighthearted way. And that's the story of how Op learned to value herself and her time, with a little help from her best friend and a mischievous plan to get even. Now let's talk about a story. This is about someone who found out her boyfriend was not being honest. The person thought they were in a relationship where they were the only ones dating each other, which is called being monogamous. But then, she found out that her boyfriend was on a dating app saying he was polyamorous. Polyamorous means liking or being in a relationship with more than one person at the same time. He also said he was interested in other things that were not okay in their relationship. She confronted her boyfriend and gave him a book about being ethical in relationships, especially in polyamorous ones. This means being honest with each person you're dating and keeping open communication. She thought it was funny that her boyfriend said he was open and free in his relationships when he was actually quite closed off and possessive in hers. She also didn't like that the boyfriend had lied and cheated. She was especially upset because she didn't want to be safe in their relationship, even though he claimed she was the only person he was with. The storyteller felt like she got revenge by confronting him, but she also worried about what might happen next because of his dishonesty. The next story is about a roommate playing a not-so-nice prank. After college, someone's roommate thought it would be funny to pour his used dip, like tobacco spit, into their can of Monster Energy drink. The person didn't know and took a drink while the roommate thought it was just a joke. They almost got sick and did a lot of dry heaving, which means trying to throw up but not being able to. It wasn't a very nice thing for the roommate to do. He was quietly sitting in his room. Suddenly, he heard someone laughing loudly as he entered, just like how someone laughs when they show you a funny trick. This loud and sudden laughter made the person in the room feel very upset because he didn't like such surprises. In order to get back at the person who laughed, the upset person thought of a mischievous plan. It wasn't a very nice plan, though. When the laughing person went out of the house, the upset person did something quite yucky with a pillowcase. It was not a good thing to do at all. A couple of days later, the person who laughed said he needed to see a doctor because his eye was red and sore. It was strange that he didn't notice the bad smell from the pillow, right? In another story, a long time ago, someone worked in a small, cozy bar. This bar was a popular place for older people, motorbike riders, and workers who couldn't work because of the weather. The person working there opened the bar early in the morning and worked until the afternoon, but had never met the owners of the bar. One day, something unusual happened. The people who brought drinks to the bar asked to be paid in cash, which was different from the usual way. The worker had to call another bartender to get permission to pay them. One morning, the worker got a phone call at the bar. The caller said that tickets to another country were booked for the next day. A regular customer at the bar mentioned that the owners might be running away from something or someone. The worker hadn't been paid for 2 weeks, so he decided to have a big farewell party at the bar and gave away drinks to everyone. When the other bartender arrived, the worker asked to be paid. He got his money and then decided to leave that job. The next story is about a spot in a big city where police often catch people driving too fast. The person telling the story used to live in Toronto, which is a busy city with lots of cars and roads. One Sunday, they saw police setting up to catch people speeding. Later, as he was driving back, a car was following him very closely. When the road got wider, the person on a motorcycle sped up a bit, but stayed within the speed limit. The car that was following, however, kept speeding and got caught by the police. The person on the motorcycle felt a little happy because he had been safe and smart, and the person who was speeding learned a lesson. Finally, there's a story that begins with someone's mother who had a friend named Laura. We haven't heard the rest of this story yet, but it sounds like it could be an interesting tale. In the continuation of the story, we meet Laura, who wasn't very popular with the storyteller. The story takes place on Nicole's, the storyteller's sister, 11th birthday. Laura had invited Nicole, the storyteller, and their mother to her daughter's first birthday party. Coincidentally, Laura's daughter and Nicole shared birthdays only 5 days apart, and Laura planned her party on the exact day of Nicole's birthday because it was a weekend. Interestingly, Laura always remembered the storyteller's birthday, but somehow never seemed to remember Nicole's, which was quite upsetting. The storyteller's mother chose not to say anything about this oversight, probably to avoid any unpleasantness, as Laura was known to be difficult to deal with. The storyteller felt angry and frustrated because they were supposed to celebrate Nicole's birthday, but instead they had to attend someone else's party. Nicole was visibly upset, but they didn't really have a choice. At the party, the storyteller and Nicole sat with friends at a table with kids their age, ranging from 11 to 15 years old. At one point, the storyteller couldn't hold back their feelings anymore. Since Laura hadn't acknowledged Nicole's birthday, the storyteller decided to take matters into their own hands. They started singing Happy Birthday for Nicole, and their friends, who knew it was her special day, joined in. This small act of celebration attracted some attention, and after the song, they returned to chatting and enjoying the party. Laura looked confused and then seemed to remember it was Nicole's birthday, but she wasn't pleased. However, the moment of singing lasted less than 5 minutes. To this day, Laura hasn't changed, but the storyteller and Nicole still laugh about this birthday incident years later. The next story shifts to a different topic. It's about the storyteller's cousin, who had a habit of coming over to their house and helping himself to food without asking. Much like Joey from the TV show Friends, who would walk into Monica's apartment and eat whatever he found. This cousin had a particularly strong liking for sweets and anything chocolatey. The storyteller planned a little bit of mischievous revenge. He had recently received a chocolate fountain as a birthday gift and had been making hot dogs for lunch that day. Can you guess what happened next? One of the hot dogs, bun and all, went through the chocolate fountain, and it ended up looking like a delicious chocolate cake. The storyteller left this Fox chocolate cake out, knowing the cousin was coming over later to play video games. As expected, the first thing the cousin did upon arriving was head to the kitchen, grab a can of Coke, and take the bait. The cousin gagged and started shouting from the living room when he realized what he'd eaten, and the storyteller couldn't help but laugh. It was a perfect plan, and the cousin will probably think twice before helping himself to food in the storyteller's house in the future. Continuing with the theme of respecting others' spaces and belongings, the next story highlights how it's generally understood that one shouldn't just start rummaging through someone else's fridge or pantry upon visiting their home. This is a basic courtesy most people follow. The story then shifts to an incident titled Hot Ham Sandwich. Back in 2013, the storyteller began a new job, aware that there was a communal fridge in the break room. On their first day, they brought a ham sandwich and chips for lunch, stored in a container with their name marked on it. However, come lunchtime, they discovered their sandwich was missing. This wasn't just any sandwich. It was made with a special salt-cured ham that the storyteller rarely indulged in. Determined to address this issue, the next day, the storyteller brought another ham sandwich to work, this time made with deli ham. Again, they left it in a similarly marked container. As expected, the sandwich was taken, but the container was returned to the fridge. This time, however, the storyteller had a trick up his sleeve. He had slathered the sandwich with Dave's Insanity sauce, a particularly spicy condiment. Following this incident, he started keeping his lunch in a cooler at his desk to avoid further theft or retaliation. The storyteller never found out who the sandwich thief was, as he didn't witness anyone in the office with a burning mouth or other signs of distress from the spicy sauce. He felt satisfied with his subtle act of revenge, though he wondered if a spicy food thief would have been able to handle the heat without much reaction.